Welcome to Bedtime True Crime, the YouTube channel that takes you on a haunting exploration of the world of true crime, serial killers, and unsolved mysteries. Join us as we journey into the shadows, unearthing spine-tingling tales that will keep you awake at night. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss another thrilling episode. Now get comfortable, turn off the lights, and prepare to be captivated by the sinister side of human nature as we delve into today's bone-chilling story. In the year of 1966, an unrelenting chill clung to the streets of London's East End. This was a world, still healing from the scars of war, and yet, amidst this landscape of rubble and smoke-stacked factories, life found a way. Men and women, hardened by a reality of rations and echoes of air raid sirens, navigated this world of grimy bricks and labyrinthine alleyways. For them, this wasn't just a city, it was a battleground, and survival was a daily victory. One couldn't venture through these streets without hearing whispers about the Kray Twins. The very mention of their names, Reggie and Ronnie, brought forth a cocktail of fear and reverence from the locals. They weren't just men, they were a myth, built on street corners and in the hushed tones of tavern gossip. The question that lingered in the chilled air wasn't who they were, but how two boys born into ordinary circumstances had ascended to become the most feared names in all of London. The heart of their empire was the East End, a place where luxury coexisted with poverty, where law bended to those audacious enough to grasp power with both hands. For the Krays, this audacity was as natural as breathing. Yet, as with all tales of rise and fall, this story begins with a sound, a single echoing gunshot ripping through the murmurs of a dingy pub. The Blind Beggar, a shabby establishment known more for its infamous patrons than its stale ale, was just starting to buzz with its regular evening crowd. Patrons clung to their drinks, seeking warmth and oblivion in equal measure. But that night, amidst the sea of worn-out faces, one man stood out. George Cornell, a broad-shouldered man with a reputation of his own, sat hunched at the bar, the soft glow of the lights casting long shadows on his face. The entrance door creaked open, and a gust of frigid wind swept through the pub, momentarily drowning the hum of conversations. The figure standing at the door was unmistakable, his impeccably tailored suit contrasting sharply against the worn-out surroundings of the pub. It was Ronnie Kray, a sight that brought an uncanny silence as conversations dwindled to fearful whispers. With every step Ronnie took, the wooden floor beneath him creaked, echoing the rhythm of impending doom. The pub, once filled with the warmth of human breath and the scent of aged ale, now reeked of fear. Even the most inebriated patron could feel the tension knotting the air, a gathering storm too potent to be ignored. Ronnie's piercing gaze found Cornell, their eyes locking in a brief yet momentous standoff. In that instant, everything slowed, the world shrinking to those two pairs of eyes, one filled with defiant anticipation, the other with ruthless resolve. It was in that seemingly eternal pause that a single, resounding question hung in the air, one that would dictate the course of the night and leave an indelible mark on the city's underbelly. Who would blink first? Reggie Kray was different from his brother Ronnie. Their names, forever paired, masked the distinct path each brother carved. While Ronnie was a live wire, a loose cannon with an explosive temper, Reggie was methodical, almost businesslike in his approach. Their differences, however, did not dent their unity. If anything, it sharpened their edge, making them a lethal combination in the unyielding world of organized crime. Reggie's realm was the night, where he held court at the many clubs they owned. The nightlife was an intoxicating mix of celebrities, politicians, and criminals, all eager to bask in the Kray's notoriety. From the regal walls of Esmeralda's barn in Knightsbridge to the seedy corners of the Double R Club in the East End, the Krays reigned supreme. The glitter and glamour were alluring, but it was the power, the undercurrent of control, that fueled Reggie's ambition. As Ronnie stalked the East End, instilling fear and maintaining their stronghold, Reggie navigated the glitz and glamour of the West End, their influence spreading through the veins of the city. Their empire was expanding, power growing with every passing day. Yet beneath the thriving empire, Discontent was brewing, a ripple that would soon morph into a catastrophic wave. The tensions escalated with the death of George Cornell. The world may have heard a single gunshot that night, but for those in the know, it echoed a war cry. The Krays weren't just content with running their territories. They aimed for dominance, and no one dared to stand in their path. Well, almost no one. Jack The Hat McVitie was a minor criminal, a low-level enforcer who had worked for the Krays. McVeady was no saint, his rap sheet as long as his notorious temper. Still, in the city's underbelly, he was known more for his failures than his feats. He was a loose cannon, his reckless demeanor a stark contrast to the Krays' methodical operations. After botching an assignment for the Krays, McVeady was living on borrowed time. Despite the looming threat, he remained defiant, openly disrespecting the twins. The tension simmered beneath the surface until one fateful night, during a party at a nondescript flat in Stoke Newington. The room was thick with the smell of cheap alcohol and even cheaper perfume, a concoction as heady as the power dynamics at play. Reggie Kray, usually the picture of composure, was on edge. There was a dangerous glint in his eyes, one that sent a shiver down the spine of even the most hardened criminals present. McVeady, unaware or simply uncaring of the storm he was about to unleash, continued his tirade. He was walking a tightrope, and the whole room held its collective breath, waiting for the inevitable fall. What followed was a chilling dance of power and defiance, a tug of war that would end only with the spilling of blood. Despite the shimmering illusion of control, the Kray twins weren't untouchable. The echoes of their crimes had reached the hallways of power, their reputation inviting the scrutiny of law enforcement. The seemingly impenetrable fortress of fear they had built was under siege, and at the heart of the battle was one man, Detective Superintendent Leonard Nipper Reed. Determined and relentless, Reed was a man of unwavering principles in a world that often operated in shades of gray. His assignment was as clear as it was daunting: bring down the Kray Empire. But to penetrate the thick web of fear and loyalty that protected the twins, he needed more than just determination. He needed an insider, someone who had seen the workings of the empire up close. Unbeknownst to the Krays, their fortress had already been breached. A trusted associate turned police informant was providing valuable information to Reed, revealing the intricate machinery of the Kray operations. The fog was slowly lifting, and the full extent of the twins' crimes started to come into focus. As the net around the Krays tightened, their actions grew increasingly reckless, the facade of their control starting to crack. The murder of Jack The Hat McVitie was the turning point, a senseless act of violence that served as a chilling testament to their unraveling. The scene of the crime, a nondescript flat in Stoke Newington, bore the eerie remnants of a struggle. Amidst the chaos of the abandoned party, one could almost hear the echo of the fatal confrontation, feel the palpable fear that must have filled the room as McVeady met his gruesome end. Reggie, usually the more composed of the twins, had been the perpetrator, a shocking revelation that underscored their growing desperation. But in their arrogance, the Krays underestimated their opponents, assuming they could silence the witnesses just as they had done countless times before. Little did they know, the gears of justice had already been set in motion, the culmination of a dogged investigation that stretched over years. The world they had so carefully built was on the brink of collapse, their reign of terror nearing its end. The clock was ticking, the countdown to their inevitable fall echoing through the grimy streets of the East End. The morning of the 8th of May, 1968, broke with a tension that electrified the very air in the East End. Detective Superintendent Leonard Nipper Reed, armed with a damning body of evidence and driven by relentless determination, was ready to bring down the Kray Empire. Raids were carried out simultaneously at multiple locations, an orchestration of law and order that marked the end of an era. The infamous Kray Twins, the untouchable gangsters who had ruled London's underworld, were finally under arrest. The trials that followed were as sensational as the lives of the twins. The courtrooms were packed, the air heavy with anticipation and dread. The prosecution presented a formidable case, drawing on a wealth of evidence collected over years of painstaking investigation. The testimonies of their former associates, once protected by a wall of fear, were the linchpin of the case, providing damning evidence of the Kray's heinous crimes. The murder of George Cornell and Jack The Hat McVitie, each gruesome in its detail, painted a chilling picture of the twins' reign of terror. The methodical manner of their operations, the shocking brutality of their violence, and their utter disregard for life and law sent shivers down the collective spine of the courtroom. There was no question about the outcome. The guilty verdict was a foregone conclusion. The Kray twins were sentenced to life imprisonment, a term that finally put an end to their reign of terror. The manhunt that had kept the city on edge, the chilling tales of violence and fear, were finally put to rest. The East End breathed a collective sigh of relief, its grimy streets freed from the clutches of the twins. In the years following their conviction, the twins' influence waned, their once terrifying image reduced to a cautionary tale in the annals of crime history. Despite their life behind bars, their infamy persisted, their names forever etched in the dark underbelly of London. The scars they left behind served as a chilling reminder of a time when two brothers held a city captive under a reign of terror. In their passing, the Kray twins left behind a legacy of fear, violence, and unchecked power. Yet their story also underscored the enduring spirit of justice, a testament to the relentless pursuit of truth in the face of intimidation and fear. It was a story that would echo through the ages, a stark reminder of the thin line between power and brutality, between control and chaos. In the end, it was the relentless grind of justice that prevailed, a sobering reality that even the most powerful of criminals weren't above the law. The Kray twins, once kings of the East End, found themselves confined within the bleak walls of a prison, their empire nothing more than a haunting memory. Yet their tale, woven into the very fabric of the city they once ruled, continues to echo, a chilling saga of power, fear, and the ultimate fall from grace.